It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
This is the KQ Morning Show. Led Zeppelin making us wait for it.
Huh.
I love the fade out, fade back. The 70s were a trip, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
It is, speaking of 70s, it's the 7th of September. The NFL is back.
Yes.
We've got professional football south of the border tonight. Oh, that feels good. Looking very forward to that.
Now, with
yes.
the football game tonight and the morning gig you've got going here,
Right.
Are you a stay up late kind of guy or a get up in the middle of the night? I've tried both, going to bed at like 8 o'clock and then waking up at 2 a.m. to try and cram in a football game.
No, I can't. I mean, at some point, maybe. No, I think I'm just going to grin and bear it, watch football, and then go to sleep. And then, it's like cramming for a test. I'll get up tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll white knuckle myself through the show and then sleep away all Friday afternoon. It's a perfect plan.
Oh, God, it is a
Perfect plan.
Yep.
I'll do that every Friday. I'll do that every Tuesday. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be a hell of a season.
I love going to sleep watching football. I just find it really soothing.
Oh.
I thought you were just going to say I love going to sleep.
Oh, I was on a run of I don't know if it was falling asleep or passing out, but probably about 6 Super Bowls in a row that I did not see the last half of. I loved falling asleep during the Super Bowl.
I've been out of the country for a few Super Bowls where the game comes on really late, and I've fallen asleep at really unfortunate times. Like I make it, and then all of a sudden, like the fourth quarter, the 3 touchdown back and forth quarter, I wake up like that game was really going nowhere. No, and then I realized what happened. Baseball playoffs. Remember the Cubs, the Steve Bartman famous?
Oh, yeah.
I was watching that game. I was in Spain. I'm watching that game on a streaming on MLB whatever because I can't believe the Cubs are about to make it to the World Series or whatever the situation was. I was wide awake, dealing with jet lag, watching that game, and I kid you not, I fell asleep as that at bat was beginning. I was in his 8th or 9th. I literally, and then and I doze off, and I get up, and I'm like, what is everyone freaking out about? I mean, I was watching that at bat when I dozed off. I missed Nipplegate. I missed Janet Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
I fell asleep during that performance, also in London. That sound asleep with us touring with Stereophonics, and I'm like, get to halftime, I'm like, what are you gonna do? Wake up again. Same thing. Next day, I'm like, what the hell happened? But no, I'm gonna watch the game tonight. I'm gonna just grin and bear it. I'm gonna have a good time. Last night, before we can't overlook what happened last night at the Acme Comedy.
Yeah,
the 4 of us were all there on hand, along with a host of others, judging the funniest person in the Twin Cities contest. That was a good night.
That was a great
that
fun.
was a blast.
And what anyone listening to the show right now is hearing is all of us pretending to feel good right now.
I feel great.
Do you feel great?
I told you, I don't get hungover, and I always feel great after I rip it up. It charges me up. It's weird.
I'm surprised you don't do it more often. And those of us that suffer continue to do it. I don't know what the logic there is. I mentioned this morning, I had a couple of cocktails last night and, got a pretty good little comedy buzz going. But the hangover this morning is the pizza. I got home and just shoved Red Savoy pizza cheeseburger.
Attaboy.
That's my thing.
Attaboy.
Yeah, I was waking up, sitting up in the middle of the night, burping sausage. It was like,
nice.
I enjoyed. We had a nice meal at the club, and
Yes.
so I did not go for the pizza. I of course picked up 12 sliders with cheese on the way home.
Did you? You stopped at the castle?
No, I didn't. No, of course not. But that doesn't mean I didn't think about it. I was like, do I need more food now? And thankfully, history and just enough memory of the many times I made that decision. I was like, no, I don't. I don't. What I need to do is lay down, and that's what I did.
That might be overlooked for some that are heading out to Acme for some of the best comedy in the nation, and that is Sticks. That restaurant is,
Yeah.
They
really
bring
good.
out some pretty damn good food.
Know her well.
I have an issue because
What do you know? It's
Sorry?
a she.
What are we getting at over there?
Sticks is a she.
Restaurants are she's.
Oh, okay.
Is that true?
Yes.
Kind of like a ship.
Yes.
Even the Edmund
Yeah.
Fitzgerald. Is the Edmund Fitzgerald a she? It's it's a he. It's named after Eddie Fitz. Come on.
Yes.
Yeah.
She? All right. Well, I have a little issue which has definitely played a part of my drinking less frequently, I should say, which is I snore when I am asleep after having been drinking.
Yeah. It's pretty
And
common.
two things happen. One, I wake up and go, "Where's Rosemary?" And she's on a couch or she's in another room.
Oh, yeah.
Because when the freight train comes into Snoretown, she ain't hitting the brakes. And then the other thing is I'm sleeping with my mouth open, and then I wake up and I have a sore throat. It's
Yeah,
dried out.
dry.
And then, when you're supposed to wake up and then start talking on a mic, it's like, come on, come back, baby. So, but I woke up this morning and I didn't like really tie one on at all, but it was just enough for me to clearly be snoring because I woke up and got up and I'm like, all right, Johnson, let's get outside. And I'm like creeping around the bedroom. I'm like, shh, to get out nice and quiet. And then I look in the other room and I'm like, oh, wait, what the hell happened? I turned the light on and I'm alone in bed. And then I was like, oh, okay, I was snoring. I get it. These things happen. It's funny. I just saw a list of the types of sleepers you may be.
Oh, yeah.
And the snorer, it does say, and I don't have sleep apnea. It's not like that level. And again, it's only if I've been drinking. But do you know anyone that's one of those type of snorers, like a sleep apnea snorer?
No, that was right here, hand in the air. I mean, that was me.
Oh, that's right. You did a whole study about that.
And I went for the machine, did the CPAP is the machine that you use to treat that, and they put the mask on the face for a couple of years. Before they had to just put hardware into my body.
That's right.
I've got more titanium and mesh and crap in my body. They're rebuilding me, making me better than I was before.
Steve Austin.
Thank you very much.
The 6 million Z's man.
If you would have told me when I was a kid that I would someday have a reference to Steve Austin, that would have been the coolest. The Steve Austin or Evel Knievel.
How are you sleeping these days?
Fantastico. I love it. And
great.
The moment they turn this gizmo on inside me, I'll just say it, Inspire. It's not an endorsement or anything like that. But cooked up right here by the Mayo Clinic in good old Minnesota. The moment I turned it on, Maria said, quit snoring. No more snoring. Gone.
Wow.
Do you feel it when it goes on?
Yes, you do, but it's not uncomfortable, and I don't want to get into a whole Inspire thing, but I was just talking last night, our beloved Justin here, former employee of the KQ Morning Show, and his lovely wife, Ashley, also of KQRS, a couple of alum there, and they were talking about their sleep divorce, and this is turning into a thing right now, but couples are splitting and going to their own bedrooms. It's called a sleep divorce. And, the 7 types of sleepers. They kind of broke it down. We'll get into that a little bit later on. We got a lot to get into this morning. Aaron Rodgers, the football season, NFL football season starting tonight, and Aaron Rodgers gifted us a UFO story. If you guys have heard this or not from Hard Knocks
Don't
on
laugh.
Tuesday.
Why are you laughing?
I don't know, because it's Aaron Rodgers. If it was anyone else, if it was Tony Lee, I would lean forward and start taking notes. Here it is. The proof that we've all been waiting for.
As
Aaron
long
Rodgers.
as at least one time he mentions the use of ayahuasca, then I'm all ears.
Oh, we've got all that coming here for you in the next half hour or so. Mike Evans' Hollywood Report, all ready to go at 6:30. Hang tight.
Football.
Yes.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Thursday, September the 7th. The NFL kicks off tonight. The Pretenders are at 7th Street Entry tonight. Man, what a big night it is for everybody. Whether you want to go see a football game, whether you want to sneak into the Pretenders, whether you already have a ticket, whatever. I'm just saying.
What now? What? Pretenders are at 7th?
Yes,
7th Street.
yes.
7th Street Entry tonight.
And they
hell,
sold
what,
out in
Chrissy?
2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah, not a band pretending to be the Pretenders. The Pretenders.
One of
I'm not
my
happy.
That's amazing.
favorite all-time shows, and I kid you not. I mean, when people ask, I think Mike Evans asked one time, and I said mid-'90s, Pretenders, First Avenue, middle of winter, and they just brought the place down.
Just a kick-ass band from day one, and they will be at 7th Street Entry tonight. And speaking of Mike Evans, you know what? It's time for the Mike Evans Hollywood Report. Michael, are you with us?
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Certainly am. And a reminder, there's football, there's concerts, and there's movies. And if you're going to go to a movie, the only one place to go is Marcus Theater. Marcus Theater, again, proudly announces a value Tuesday, $6 for any movie, any Tuesday. And don't forget the Rosemont Cinema. And don't forget the fabulous lounge recliners. And don't forget that every theater has the Take 5 Lounge where you can get something great to eat. Yeah, I love the Pretenders. I love Chrissy Hynde. One of my favorite songs is Precious. Huh?
Incredible.
Love that song.
Oh, yeah,
I
precious.
think it's so precious. Well, you know what they say in that song, yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
TV news. So one of my favorite programs is Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming to an end at the end of this season. He's announced that his 29th season will be his last. A little story, when I was a very, very young radio sportscaster in Los Angeles, I applied for a weekend sports anchor gig at KNBC Channel 4 in L.A. The news director was Phil Boyer. Went back and forth, a lot of interviews. I was told the gig came down between me and another young local guy, and that was Brian Gumbel, and he got the gig. Brian and I also played in the L.A. media baseball team together. He played shortstop. I played second base. We turned a lot of double plays.
Wow, nice.
And we played at least one game every year at Dodger Stadium before a Dodger game. If you go to my website, if you have time to do it now, evansradio.com, I posted a picture of Brian and I wearing our L.A. media uniforms just before the game we played at Dodger Stadium. Seldom agreed with Brian. Didn't always agree with Bryant, but a great guy, great golfer, and we certainly wish him well in retirement.
Very nice, very nice. Tell me about the tackle. Yeah, I love when he comes in with those. His voice hops up there. How did it feel to get the handcuffs off?
Movie news. I'm hearing great things about the fantasy drama called Tuesday. It's about a teenager who has a terminal disease and is dying. Mm-hmm. But coping with the inevitable, she's going to die. However, her mother cannot accept it and is losing her mind. Now, what's interesting about this, Steve, is that the mother is played by Julie Louis-Dreyfus in her first dramatic role.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Details on the national release date are sketchy, but when I find out exactly where, when, and where it'll be streaming, I'll let you know.
Fair enough.
More hearsay movie scoop. Taylor Swift had every minute of every concert film. From the time she left her hotel, they got into the limousine, the drive to the concert venue, the actual concert itself, to the end of the autograph post parties every night. Mm-hmm. Everything was filmed. This is going to be a huge movie, don't you think?
Absolutely huge, yeah. I love that the movie, the heads of the studios are angry that she was able to do this without them being a part of it. Like, she's the boss of all bosses.
It's unbelievable.
Just get out of her way.
Odds and ends, almost every star lives in Los Angeles, or at least has a home in Los Angeles, and most of those stars' homes cost $3, $4, $5, $10 million or more. But not all of them. Here are 5 celebrities who have homes in Los Angeles under $1 million or barely over $1 million.
Wow, okay.
Dakota Fanning, Daniel Radcliffe, Anne Hathaway, Jake Gyllenhaal, Tobey Maguire.
Oh, please. Maguire still lives in a house that's valued at around $1 million.
He has a house in Los Angeles.
Well, he's got several houses, I bet you.
Spent some time there, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Cher says she won't cut her hair or stop wearing jeans no matter how long she lives. Well, there's nothing hotter than a 76-year-old woman with long hair and tight jeans. I'll just say that.
I can't stop thinking about Cher's long hair, Mike.
Yep, there you go. She's just not going to change. I'll tell you that.
By the way, who would ever imagine Cher to change? Who would suggest she do anything other than be Cher?
Yeah.
However
exactly.
that works on a given day. Cher is Cher.
Cher. So football starts tonight.
Oh yeah.
I hope Travis plays because he's in my fantasy football league. What do you think?
I can't. I mean, if it's touch or go, he's going to at least get a couple of snaps in. I can't imagine him sitting out the game if he's able to get up and down the field at least once or twice.
And rather than doubtful, they put him as questionable.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Hopefully he does play. Tomorrow I'm going to make some predictions. Every Friday, and I'd like you and I to go back and forth a little bit on this. Every Friday I'm going to make 1 college and 3 pro predictions and see how I do at the end of the year.
That's we'll keep a running tally. That'll be fantastic.
And you do the same. We'll see who does best. You're going to beat me, but it'll be fun.
That's usually how that works. Yeah, I have a great time, and I win, and I get all the candy.
There you go. Have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow. See you.
Thank you, Mike.
Kelsey has a workout this morning. They're going to make that decision this morning.
Something tells me, actually, now that I think about it, what does he care about opening day? Honestly, they're looking at a ring. They're trying to get a dynasty going. They're focused on January and February. He doesn't care.
They won't risk it either.
They're not going to force it in there. So
they are not going to force it in there. We were talking about sleepers already earlier in the show, and the one thing I meant to mention, I mentioned that I woke up today, and because I had apparently been snoring, Rosemary had moved on to the other bedroom. My wife, by the way, as annoying a human as can be, because when she lays down, she closes her eyes, she falls asleep, she does not move.
that's weird. I mean,
8 hours, she'll just not move an inch.
do you ever just check on her?
Yeah, I do.
right.
I put my hand up, like making sure there's still breath coming out of those lungs. She does not
I'm
move.
jealous. I'm a flippy flopper. I flop all around. All
That's
night
that
long.
Talking Head song, Making Flippy Floppy.
Yep.
It's about you sleeping.
Right.
That's me.
Really? You're just a
Yeah.
ping pong ball.
The only time I slept straight through on my back all night was when I wore Gene Simmons face makeup to a Kiss concert,
Right.
and I had to
Yeah.
come here in the morning. So I just laid down in my bed like a vampire, and I just arose.
Wow. So you went full Gene to go see Kiss?
Yeah, it was crazy, man. He liked it.
Man, that's good stuff.
Spit fire, blood.
Maybe a couple of fireball shots.
there
probably.
you go with that. Maybe you have sleep apnea.
I took Connell to see Kiss when he was probably 8, and neither of us were decked out in Kiss garb.
No.
No makeup, no whatever. But I was blown away. I had never seen Kiss my whole life. I'd never seen them. I finally go. And if you had told me when I was 8 that I would be taking an 8-year-old kid, however many years later, I would have been like, there's no way, just thought, well, that's not possible. The number of dads and sons, moms and sons, moms and daughters, dads and daughters, multi-generational people fully dressed as Kiss members, I've never seen anything like it. It blew my mind. I mean, you're looking at a 6-foot-tall Gene Simmons dude holding hands with an 11-year-old Ace Frehley. They're going to get a T-shirt. I was like, I really was unprepared for how much of a family passing it down, the generation thing, the Kiss culture was. It was incredible.
Yeah, they're like superheroes.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it was really, really nice. And it was a gig where Motley Crue opened. And I kid you not, and this is nothing against Motley Crue. Nobody cared. The Kiss, it was like, everybody was there for Kiss, and it was just like, okay, that's fine. You guys are going to do your thing. Have fun. Okay. And they finished, and the loudest cheer of the night was just when they walked off the stage. It wasn't while they were on stage waving. It was once they cleared the stage, then it turned into a Kiss concert. It was astounding, man.
It's an army, man. The Kiss Army.
It certainly was and is an army. God bless those guys. You know what? Let's look back. It is September the 7th, and on this day in 1963, specifically to mock young Brian Zepp, the Pro Football Hall of Fame opened its doors in Canton, Ohio. It's not right off the highway, is it?
No, it's about 40 miles off the highway. That's an 80-mile round trip that a father will not make.
The Zepp family back and forth every year. Never adding time to the itinerary to stop by the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
No, 3-week trip in Pennsylvania where you'd sit around in a lawn chair for 48 hours talking about the weather, but we don't have to make a young boy's dream come true.
Right.
We couldn't take that detour, right?
It was located, by the way. Do you know why it's in Canton, Ohio?
Something to do with Thorpe, Jim Thorpe, maybe? I don't know.
The AFA, which became the NFL, was founded there, and Canton citizens launched a campaign to earn the designation for their city. It was a big, the people got together, and they said, what can we do that will just annoy football fans forever? We can put the Pro Football Hall of Fame here.
Yeah, out there,
Right
over there
here.
in Canton.
Now, this is not to be confused, of course, with the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in Hamilton, Ontario.
Jeez.
As the great Chet Waterhouse once described it, he said, a walk through the CFL Hall of Fame, the greatest 4 minutes you can have in Hamilton. On this day in 1979, the Entertainment and Sports Programming Network made its debut on cable TV. The acronym, of course, ESPN. September 7th, 1979, at 7 p.m. Eastern, there were an estimated 30,000 viewers who watched the first ever broadcast called ESPN. It was a Sports Center telecast, 2 anchors, Lee Leonard and George Grand. left. They're a part of history now, I guess. The first words ever spoken on ESPN. If you're a fan, what you'll see in the next minutes, hours, and days to follow may convince you you've gone to sports heaven. And they did 30 minutes of highlights and then aired a men's professional slow-pitch softball game. That would be sports purgatory at best.
Yeah, right, exactly. At best.
Remember the old days, ESPN, they did not have sports they had bowling, they had Australian rules football, and men's slow-pitch softball. It was a best-of-9 World Series contest between, these are the actual teams, the Milwaukee Schlitz and the Kentucky Bourbons.
Great.
And the pitches, as the game went on, got slower and slower and slower, something tells me.
Aaron Rodgers. So the Jets and the Bills, Monday Night Football, but they have Hard Knocks. I haven't been watching Hard Knocks, and maybe it wasn't worth watching, but Aaron Rodgers gifted us a little story on Tuesday night. It wrapped up that almost 20 years ago, he witnessed a UFO being chased by 3 fighter jets. So I guess his obsession with hallucinogenic drugs goes
back a little deeper
further
than we knew.
Yeah, we have the audio. He's going to tell you in his own words here at 7 o'clock. Hang tight.
Football.
Yes.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Thursday, September the 7th. Boston, More Than a Feeling. The debut album from Boston came out in 1976. It was the biggest selling debut album of all time until, what would that be, 11 years later when Appetite for Destruction from Guns N' Roses was released. That took the crown. And then in 1994, an album was released that outsold Appetite for Destruction, a debut album. Any guesses as to what that was? The biggest selling debut album by a band.
94.
Ed Sheeran.
It knocked off Guns N' Roses.
Post-grunge, so it would have been after the Seattle scene hit. Big one in 94.
I only want to be with you.
A Hootie.
Yeah, Hootie.
I got a call.
Candace's buddy Darius Rucker.
I love Darius Rucker.
Yeah.
That album has sold over 20 million copies now. That Cracked Rear View. That thing is enormous. Wow. And it could not have literally happened to a nicer bunch of guys.
Yeah. We had Darius on when he was playing his big Prior Lake Festival show down there. A buddy of yours was in town.
Great
golfing.
guy.
Came to town to golf and then played a show while he was here.
Yeah, that's how that works.
But I did talk to him back when that album came out. I was working at another radio station in this town, and one of the first radio stations to add the songs. So you know how they do. They put them in a room and say, you got to call all these radio stations and thank them for adding your tune.
Yep.
And so I had a short, brief conversation with Darius, like, thank you. No, thank you.
Darius, like the rest of us, an obsessive football fan.
Yeah.
Crazed football fan. Famously a Dolphins fan, a lifer, Dolphins kid. And a personal friend of Dan Marino's.
Oh, really?
Darius has got some incredible Marino stories. Dan is a guy who lives in fifth gear. He does not slow down. Wow. And not stories for me to tell because they're not mine, but, man, I've heard a couple of whiz-bangers. Having a lot of fun in South. Being the Prince of Southern Florida, Dan Marino, it's not a bad way to go through life, I don't think.
No, not at all.
Just an incredible talent. And, of course, that's on my mind because – well, we have football tonight.
Yes.
The Chiefs and the Lions kick off the NFL season. I did not, like you mentioned, I didn't see a moment of this season's Hard Knocks.
No.
It just escaped my radar entirely. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. It's still so odd to say that. The New York Jets were the team featured. And Aaron Rodgers, was it just last night or Tuesday night? Aaron Rodgers shared a story from the old days going back a couple of decades. Now, we all thought that he discovered hallucinogenics, specifically ayahuasca, over the last few years. But you may be thinking about the fact that he was probably tripping a long time ago. Aaron Rodgers has, in fact, seen a UFO. Here we go.
Dun, dun, dun.
We had this great dinner at his house in Jersey. I was making my way to bed, and I had like a 5 a.m. wake up. And I was getting down to bed. I heard this alarm in the distance going off. It just didn't seem like normal when I heard some rustling downstairs. So I got up, walked downstairs. It was a beautiful night. And Steve and his brother and I walked outside. And up in the clouds, we heard this sound and we saw this tremendously large object moving through the sky. And it was like a scene out of Independence Day when the ships are coming into the atmosphere, and they're creating this kind of explosion type fire in the sky. We just saw this incredibly large object and froze, as anybody would, because we didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
And eventually it went out of sight, and nobody said a word.
And then there's
We
more.
just stood frozen, the three of us, on the front stoop of Steve's house. And about 30 seconds later, we heard the real recognizable sound of fighter jets going shoo, shoo, shoo.
I think that's it. That's where we got.
my
It was about a
God.
3-minute story. It seemed like we played the entire 3 minutes there, but that was only about a minute 20.
Tony,
Have to go back to Hard
Tony,
Knocks.
you're our UFO expert.
Yes.
Which star cluster do you think this particular UFO came from?
Orion.
Orion, sure.
Yes.
The
Now,
Mount-
why does there have to be the spooky, scary music? If I'd put that together, I would have put happy music with a
No, okay.
welcoming experience.
Whereas I would have gone with a calliope.
I believe him.
Yeah, I would've
I
went
believe
with the
him.
Benny
of course,
Hill
I
theme.
believe him.
I do too, but
Sure.
here's the thing. I've been going back and forth the past few weeks. Is he hot again? Is he not hot again? Is he hot? I just don't know. I just don't know.
Right.
I'm really confused right
Yeah.
now about
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers. And I'm going to say not, because just for his storytelling alone, that was not doing anything. for
Aaron
me.
Rodgers,
dramatic.
hot or not? Wow. I believe that he believes that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thrown because, of course, I thought this was going to be we were all up late. He says it was 5 a.m. a wake up. He was awakened by an alarm, so coming out of a stupor. And so Tony, again though, before I
Yes.
forget, now you've seen several UFOs.
I have.
And you have lost time. So when you were probed, was this was it like a clinical, medicinal, like surgical looking room, or was it more just like they're hanging out in the cockpit and they're seeing what you got under the hood?
Well, the probe was more of a request and demand.
Okay, sure.
It was an optional service.
As long as we're all here,
I chose to check that
Okay.
on the list,
got it.
and
Got
I think I'd repeat that experience.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
They
I'm
loomed.
ready. I'm ready to have a Independence Day-esque sighting like Aaron Rodgers just described. I know several people. Tony, you are now on that list. People that I trust inherently. People that I recognize their reasonable state of mind, their intelligence, who have had stories much like yours, much like Aaron Rodgers just said. So I can't discount all of the smart, reasonable people I know who have seen things like this.
Yeah, well, why would he make it up? That's the thing. People always go, "Hey, you must be on the crazy smoke." Well, why would he make it up? That people don't have anything to gain really except
No.
I don't know.
humiliation and ridicule.
Well, hang on. I made up a story in the last hour. I said Prince jammed with us at Soundcheck for 40 minutes just because, damn it, I wanted it to be true.
Yeah, right.
Didn't happen, but I wanted it to be. I want to see a UFO. Chances are I will tell you I saw one tonight.
I don't want to
Look to the
piss
skies.
on the campfire here. This was in 2005 out in California. They did do a little digging. They, the people on the internet that love to dig. There is a nuclear power plant nearby. So the alarm was from the nuclear power plant, they believe, and the UFO is often sighted around those sources of energy like power plants, and then they scrambled jets to go take a look at it. So I'm not discounting the fact that there may have been a UFO, but a lot of this noise and the fighters being scrambled were as a result of being close to a nuclear power plant.
That I believe, because if you do study the phenomenon, they're usually silent. The actual craft.
When earlier this
Sneaky.
summer, when we were all heading over to the Lion and Kugel Brewery, remember that we had the big kickoff party my band Bagmen played?
Yeah.
While driving over there, I saw signs for Green Bay. And I was like, oh, my God, that's right. I'm close to Green Bay. I've never been to Lambeau Field, never seen a game. Don't care for the Packers, but you got to go to Lambeau Field, once in your life, I'm assuming. I mean, I would always, I want to get
Hell
to as
yeah.
many. That, and there's that. I've been to Soldier Field. Some of the older, there's not too many left, old football stadiums. So I really want to get to Lambeau Field. I got to get to Arrowhead. And speaking of Aaron Rodgers, speaking of Lambeau Field, he's in New York now, which is I always used to say, in New York City, you better bring your drinking hat. Because the city just makes you want to drink. It's like one of those, I'm in the city, best to have a cocktail right now. It's just one of those things. But that says the list is out of the drunkest fan bases in the NFL.
That brings it back to the Midwest.
We all know where this is headed.
Yeah.
And it's not by a little bit, but Green Bay Packers fans apparently helping Wisconsin yet again live up to the reputation of just being Wales West, as I call it. If you've ever spent any time in Wales, boy, can they drink.
Yeah.
Wales West, Packer fans coming in an average at 6.2 beers per game. That's the average.
6.
So what you've got is you've got a whole lot of people who have 1 beer a game, right? A lot of people have 2 beers. If the average is 6, that means a handful of folks are going deep into the count.
Yeah.
My word.
Drinking their weight.
Drinking their weight, indeed. This is it's a poll. They were just asking football fans. Thousands of fans were answering a questionnaire on what they do, what they consume during the game. Green Bay Packers fans, 6.2 beers per game. Number 2, Chicago Bears fans, 5.2 beers per game. A full beer more for the Packers fans.
The North taking the top 2 spots.
And you remember the list that was the drunkest cities in America. Wisconsin had 7 of the top 10. It's like Wisconsin is the Beatles of drunk cities.
Yeah.
7 out of the top 10 on the chart. Wisconsin towns.
Yeah, my buddy over there, Hummer up there at the world famous rendezvous in Grantsburg, Wisconsin, said that's BS. Only 7 out of 10. They're gonna.
He's offended.
They want to sweep.
Yeah, Las Vegas Raiders fans. I'm gonna throw that one out. I'm sorry. There's no such thing. Stop it. You're just drunk people in Vegas for the weekend.
Yeah.
That doesn't apply yet.
Exactly.
However, number 4 on the list, Minnesota Vikings fans. 4.
Yes.
4. He poured 4 beers for himself in the glass.
Yeah.
4.5 beers per game. Vikings fans.
All right.
Well done.
Respectable in the top 5. I like it.
That's a thing. It's funny. Growing up from the age of 10 down south, and also not being from a real drinking family. Neither one of my parents drank. The occasional cocktail, a sip of wine here and there.
Respectable.
Yeah. My dad just didn't have he had a real bad touchy stomach. He just didn't like to drink.
All right.
My mom, occasionally she'd have a little cream de menthe, a little liqueur after,
a grasshopper.
And but yeah, that was about it. So didn't grow up where there was no drinking in the house. It really was a foreign thing to me. And I knew people down south drank, but culturally speaking, it's like, you get together, you have a few cocktails. But all this to say, when I first started spending time in the Midwest and specifically the upper Midwest, I was astonished. I just was like, wait, hold on. We're drinking at breakfast. Wow, really? Okay,
Yeah.
that's not a Southern thing. You don't see people drinking until like noon.
Yeah. Bloodies.
And growing up in a place where you couldn't buy liquor on Sundays or beer and couldn't buy anything on Sundays. Of course, we've got to. That's the Lord's Day. It's just a different vibe. I still. We were speaking with someone a few months ago on the show, and she said, "Well, I moved down south," and it was like, "Where are we going? What bar do we go for breakfast?" And I said, "Oh man, no one would ever say that in the South. It's just such a separated thing." And all this long-winded way to say, "God, you guys drink a lot of beer."
Yeah, you're right. It is a Midwest thing. I mean, getting up and going out and drinking Sunday mornings. Going out where you were having your bloody, where you were going to drink it off, get yourself back in shape, hair of the dog, was just as important as where you were going on Saturday night. You had a Sunday plan. Breakfast shots, that's a thing. I can't tell you how many shots I've had with a slice of bacon just stuck in there. And then, of course, if you're having your bloodies, you're getting your snit, right? You got to have a beer with that.
But and lest anyone think there's judgment in this from me, not at all. I feel a lot. There was a lot of years where I could have used that mindset. Trust me, it would have made me a lot more comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
In fact, right when I got to town, we all went to a hockey game, and we met up outside the arena at a bar, and I'd never seen the. You guys ordered Bloody Marys, and they bring you the little side beer. What's that called?
That's a
snit.
Yeah. Yeah, I call it a snit. I don't know what they call it.
Snit.
Yeah, that's what I call it. That's what I grew up calling it. I'm an old man.
Beer
Chaser.
chaser.
Beer chaser.
That's a good one, too.
I thought it had some cool, sidecar or something. But no, I'd never seen that till this year. I had never seen order a Bloody Mary and get the beer chaser. And again, I felt like, man, I have missed out. This makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's really common. I was just in Colorado recently, and I noticed at so many of the restaurants outside on the marquee would say the best morning cocktails available.
Oh, really?
Apparently that's a big thing there, too.
Okay.
I know when I went out west, though, in Montana, that's a drinking state right there. They get it. But when I asked for my little beer chaser, he's like, what? I said, with the Bloody, I don't get a little beer chaser. And he brought over a pint of beer. There you go. And charged me for it, of course.
Chaser.
Looked at me like, boy, slow down there, buddy. But yeah, that might just be a Midwest thing. Maybe when you get that. Yeah. You guys haven't heard of snit, huh? Oh, it's a Wisconsin thing.
Not for snit.
Yeah.
All right, well, fair enough. I'm a fan. I'm buying in. I'm now that we're talking about this, I'm ready to watch football, drink Bloody Marys, and chase them with beer.
Yes.
I love it. I thought we were doing the game show here, but we're not doing the game show. We're giving away Clapton tickets at 8:00. Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
All right, then we're gonna have to do something else here at 7:30.
Well, we do have obnoxious fan bases to discuss.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. We're gonna keep talking. We're football adjacent today.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. It is also National Beer Lovers Day. Maybe we can tie that in with the best beer for your Zodiac sign. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. The Rolling Stones, Angry. The song makes me happy. It doesn't make me angry. I think it's great. And by the way, I've always said, in my humble opinion, greatest, most underrated great rock lyricist, Mick Jagger. He's written just some spectacular lyrics. I'm fairly certain I just heard him scream into a microphone, I'm still taking the pills, and I'm off to Brazil. I don't know what that means, but that's a good turn phrase. I like it.
I do like it. Hackney Diamonds, the album comes out October 20th, and I know we have a caller to get to, but real quick, Keith Richards yesterday, in about 20 seconds, talking about some of the other artists on that album.
We have Stevie Wonder, there's Lady Gaga is on there, Sir Paul as well.
Paul.
Okay, come on by, And we had worked with Lady Gaga before, and we were on the road with Stevie Wonder in the 70s. So, I mean, all of them are nothing new.
Man, he's talking about Paul.
Sir Paul.
I've heard both Paul and Keith's version of the story where they'd never spent a whole lot of time together, just the two of them. I mean, the Beatles and Stones used to hang. They bump into each other with their various entourages over the many decades. But it was 10 or 15 years ago. Paul was, I believe, in Jamaica and just walking down the beach where he was renting a palatial estate, I'm sure. And there's Keith at his palatial estate, like, oh, hey, man, what's up? and he goes, yeah, go grab a guitar, come back around tonight. And the two of them sat for like 3 nights in a row, Paul and Keith just jamming and throwing ideas back and forth. They'd never done it. Cool. It was like 2008, and they're just, there they are. I'm like, man, you guys couldn't have put a camera up and hit record on some of that. But think of the two of those guys, like for the first time ever, like, why don't we have a jam? Okay.
I know.
Right.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, you just sort of find yourself daydreaming about it.
Yeah.
What that must have been like. I would love to be sitting on the beach there with my Corona, toes in the sand, and watch Mick and Paul walk up to each other in front of me.
This was Keith and Paul.
Oh, yeah. What did I say, Mick and Paul?
But you know what? That works. But that
I would have
works
liked
too.
to have seen those two.
But that works too.
Yeah.
I'll watch. You know what? Honestly, I'd watch Keith's Gardner and Paul's Taylor hangout. I don't care. Just give me some adjacent guys in there. Spinning some yarns. That's going to work for me.
What if those guys went out to the movies or just wanted to hang? Let's get a sandwich.
I bet they've got a theater right there in the pad.
Yeah,
do you want to go? Do you want to go halfsies on a Vespa?
Who rides bitch?
They'll take turns.
Yeah.
It is National Beer Lovers Day, and we're going to tell you what that means for you specifically. But, Giuseppe, you just mentioned we do have a phone caller, someone who's been sitting on hold for a while. We appreciate your patience. Candace, who are we talking with?
Jeff from Baldwin, Wisconsin.
Jeff from Wisconsin. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
Everything's great over here, brother. What do you got for us today?
Well, have you ever been to Lambeau Field?
No, I mentioned in the last hour. It's a goal of mine.
Yeah.
I got to get there.
I didn't hear that, but it's the Mecca. It's the stadium of all stadiums. Tailgating is incredible. I make a yearly pilgrimage there with 3 buddies, and here a 3 years ago we went and tailgated and got our snoots good and full of beer. And partway through the game, I needed to use the restroom, so I go into the restroom. And of course, there's a long line and a whole bunch of guys waiting for the urinal trough. Def Leppard Photograph is on the radio, and I'm singing along in my head because I can't sing a lick. Mm-hmm. And just as I get up to the urinal, the lyric comes on, "I want to touch you." And for whatever reason, the beer guys must have been drunk too, and that came out of my mouth at full volume.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
Good touch.
Yeah. It was awkward as hell, of course. And
yeah.
You didn't do the guitar strum and spin your hand around or anything?
The only 2 things you could hear was the rest of the song and the sound of zippers going up because I think I made a few guys uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That checks out. Do you have any idea who the Packers were playing and what the final score was that day?
Not a clue.
Boy. That's what I wanted to hear.
Not a clue. I think that's the first game the game that we missed the whole first quarter because, tailgating is more important.
Sure.
That happens at Lambeau. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's so much fun. It's the atmosphere. It's the tailgating. It's the party areas outside, the bands outside. It don't matter how cold it is. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I gotta make it happen. That's definitely on the list. Hey, appreciate the call and thanks for listening, brother. I also
Take care.
let me mention this right now. Also, never been to U.S. Bank.
What?
I've never been.
Yeah, we got to.
No, I got a lot of things I got to do.
Right, you got to start checking some things off the list. Get off the couch on Sunday. I'll tell you about the Lambeau. I know Packers fans that go to Lambeau, and they never go to the game. They just tailgate. They used to. A couple of buddies, they would throw a big TV generator, the whole thing in the back of a van, show up there, tailgate their asses off, watch the game in the van, open up the back doors, watch it there on the television in the parking lot, knowing they were never getting into the game. They didn't want to scalp a ticket and go into the game. They wanted to be in the parking lot to watch it. It is legendary tailgating. I think we give them a run for our money around here now because we have a much better setup with tailgating with U.S. Bank Stadium. But, those are legendary up there. And I've only been up there a couple of times to the new stadium. And the second time, I think it was almost halftime when we thought, well, should we wander in there? It was just such a damn good time out there in the tailgate.
I went to see the Atlanta Falcons, or as my father would have said, the Falcons. I never understood. Son, are you watching Falcon Crest? No, I'm watching Falcon Crest. He had a real thing. It was Deion Sanders and the Atlanta Falcons. Like, would you stop? There's a chocolate sauce, there's Hershey's chocolate you pour on ice cream. There's a Detroit brand called Sanders chocolate cover topping. And I grew up, but family's from Michigan, but we're growing up in Maryland. We'd go back to visit, and we always had to bring home some Sanders. Or as we called it, Saunders. I was in my 20s when I realized it's actually Sanders. My cousin goes, "Why does Uncle Don say Saunders?" I go, "That's what it's called." He goes, "No, it's not." Anyway, all this to say, I was at an Atlanta Falcons game in 1987 against the Green Bay Packers, and the Packer fans, the traveling Packers fans, they kicked the Falcons tailgaters' asses. It was astonishing walking through the parking lot. I was like, man, Falcons, you guys got to get it together. It was at the old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, and you would have thought you were at Lambeau. The number of Packers fans and the exorbitant tailgating that was happening that day, it was mind-boggling.
Yeah, the Green Bay Packer football team.
After it.
Yeah, that's the least of the entertainment value you get on a Sunday up in Lambeau.
Speaking of entertainment value, it is National Beer Day. Sorry, National Beer Lovers Day.
Oh.
It's not a day for the beer. It's a day for us, those who love beer. Candace, you've had a beer or two.
Yeah, I like lagers and lighter beers.
Okay.
If I go to a cool brewery, I will have one craft beer, maybe two.
Okay.
But yeah, that's my story.
That's your and you're sticking to it. I like that. And your birth sign, Candace?
Aries, duh.
You are an Aries. Duh. So there's a list of the beers based on your zodiac sign. What's best for you to drink today? So, Candace, this is according to the New York Post. They're recommending you have a Modelo.
Oh, I love Modelo. That's perfect.
And here's why. Because you're not afraid of a fight. And Modelo partners with the UFC on Fighting Chance Project that revitalizes gyms.
Oh.
What? Okay. So anyway, there's a Modelo in your near future, dear.
Alrighty. Okie dokie.
I recently had my first Modelo. It was free beer. It was out at Operation Zero. The fellas had it there in the cooler. So, whatever the free beer is, that's what I'm drinking that day.
How about the fact that it's the biggest selling beer in America now?
Modelo
is the number one beer sold in America.
Where did that come from? I mean,
Mexico.
just all of a sudden. I mean, yeah, but all of a sudden it's Modelo.
Yeah, no, they've been working it slowly but surely, and last year was number one. I that blew my mind when I read that. Zepp, sorry, your birth sign is
Capricorn.
Capricorn. Let's see the beer for you today. A Yingling.
Pennsylvania.
That's
Western
right.
PA, Pittsburgh territory.
And
boys
here's
and
why.
girls.
Because you're so determined. Yingling also was determined. They stayed afloat in Prohibition by making, back then, near beer with basically no alcohol.
Whatever you got to do to survive. Yeah.
There you go. Your determination has earned you a Pennsylvania Yingling.
Yingling, for years, you could not find that anywhere near the Midwest. We'd go back to PA there. And, of course, Rolling Rock out of Latrobe. Latrobe is where the Pittsburgh Steelers do their summer camp. But now then Rolling Rock got to be real trendy, and that's a green bottle beer.
Do you want to know my Rolling Rock story? It's a great one. I had one, and I went, oh, my God, this beer's amazing. And I drank a lot of it for a couple months, and then one day I went, oh, my God, this tastes like formaldehyde. And I've never had one since.
Yeah, I wasn't a big Rolling Rock guy, but Yingling, that was but now they've spread out, and it's, I think one of the big boys ended up buying them.
No, Yingling is definitely booming. And I remember being aware of it. Like, I only would see it in the mid-Atlantic, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey. And then one day it's kind of like, why is there Yingling everywhere I go now? So, somebody got a hold of the car keys there. Tony, your birth sign?
Like young Can, I'm also an Aries, but I miss Pisces by a couple hours, so maybe go by that.
Hang on. Let's see what Pisces is. You're on the cusp.
Right. I am on the cusp.
Well, then you, my friend, are going to have a Heineken today.
Hot dog.
Because you like pleasing people.
Oh, shut up.
The guy who founded Heineken's ad department once said, I don't sell beer, I sell warmth.
All right.
And that is you are a warm giver.
I'll throw him down. Let's cuddle.
You don't need a fire if you're camping. You just need Tony Lee. It's going to keep you warm.
It's in a Heineken commercial one time.
You were up at the Castle Rock Brewery. Castle Danger. Yeah, I love that Castle Danger cream ale.
That's a cute brewery.
Good as she gets.
There was whatever I had, it was real good. And we had a great time until Chauncey saw a motorcycle go by, and then we had to leave the grounds because he threw such a people thought we were beating our dog. He was yelping so loud at a motorcycle.
I'm guessing he's not coming to the chili feed.
He's not coming. No, he will not be there.
But you are.
Yeah, what's your sign there, mister?
Leo, August guy, Leo. And so according to this list, it's a Corona for me because that is Spanish for crown, and Leo is the sign of royalty.
True, yeah. All right.
No, I think all that astrology thing, that stuff is just complete nonsense, except for when I read about Leos and I go, oh, yeah, I guess that's me.
You are so a Leo.
Such a Leo, right?
Yeah.
Gosh, go figure. You know who else is a Leo?
Who?
I got to think. Let me see. Who?
Freddie Mercury.
I share a birthday with Robert De Niro.
Wait.
Mae West. Thierry Henry, the great French and Arsenal striker. Someone else I share a birthday with. I believe maybe Sean Penn.
Oh, Sean Penn, really?
Yeah, we're all Leos. We hang out together.
At the club?
That's how it goes. Yeah, Club Leo.
Your hair is kind of like a lion's mane.
Rachel's a Leo.
Oh, me and Rach. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, you do.
All right, fair
enough.
Call
her right now.
Eric Clapton, I don't know what his birth sign is. We can find it. We have time to figure this out.
Yeah, we have time. We're going to give away some Clapton tickets right here at 8 o'clock on the Maple Grove Lock and Safe Talk and Text line. We'll need 2 callers, 9 and 2, 651-989-ROCK. It's Mick, Keith, or Ronnie. to win tickets to see Clapton Thursday, September 14th at the Excel. Prize provided by Jam Productions. And we do have a runner-up prize today, Field of Bands featuring Arch Allies. That's happening Saturday, September 16th at the Washington County Fairgrounds. And that prize provided by Yellow Ribbon Alliance of Lower St. Croix Valley. 651-989-ROCK. Dial up. Good luck and hang tight.
Me love beer.
Yes.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
Boo.
This is the KQ Morning Show. I'm Steve Gorman. It is Thursday, September the 7th. Listen, man, I love me a good fade out. I just got to make sure the song's over.
One.
You just never know. Sometimes you're wait. Is there gonna be one more? You know, it's like the end of that Eddie Money song. Take Me Home Tonight. There's always that one conga. Doom, doom. I always got to hear that before I can speak. It is Thursday, September the 7th. A lot going on in the world these days, ladies and gentlemen. Football starts up again tonight. The Pretenders are at the 7th Street entry. But more important than either of those things, it's time to give away some concert tickets right here on the KQ Morning Show. Eric Clapton.
Yes, sir.
Eric Clapton, a man once referred to as God, will be at the XL Energy Center on Thursday, September the 14th. We have 2 tickets to give away. We also have a runner-up prize today. And now that's not every day. Some days, it's all or nothing. We do have a runner-up prize today to see the Field of Bands featuring Arch Allies. That's Saturday, September 16th at the Washington County Fairgrounds. We will, of course, ask 2 callers to compete in a test of wills and a test of strength and a test of luck or something. Some sort of gauntlet will be thrown down. Tony, what is today's contest?
Well, these are our boys here. We debuted the new Stone single yesterday on the KQ Morning Show. So,
Hey, Mick.
Holy Mick.
Mick.
Thanks, Mick. Keith. Mick. Keith.
Ronnie?
Ronnie.
Who are these guys?
Who are these guys?
Who are these guys?
we're going to play Mick, Keith, or Ronnie. We'll give a brief description, multiple choice, and then you tell us, is that person named Mick, Keith, or Ronnie in some form?
I like it.
Yup.
Fair enough. Let's get to it, then. How about it?
Let's play something.
Mick, Keith, or Ronnie, isn't it? Candace, who's caller number 1?
We have Dee from Kilkenny.
Dee, good morning.
Good morning.
How's things in Kilkenny these days?
Well, I'm not calling from Ireland. I'm in Kilkenny, Minnesota.
I assumed as much, but you never know. You having a good morning so far?
Yeah, I am actually. I'm actually in Colorado right now.
Oh, I see. Wow. Well, then it's even earlier than it is here. So, all right, you heard the game we're playing, Mick, Keith, or Ronnie. You have a chance to win some Clapton tickets. Good luck. Tony, take it away.
Let's go, my dear. Number 1, she was a singer who co-founded and fronted the Ronettes, name-checked by Eddie Money in his song Take Me Home Tonight. Is she A, Ronnie Urbanski, B, Ronnie Laws, or C, Ronnie Spector?
Could you repeat it?
The names or the whole thing?
The question.
Okay, she was a singer who co-founded and fronted the Ronettes. A, Ronnie Urbanski, B, Ronnie Laws, or C, Ronnie Spector?
I'll go with the first one.
Oop! It is not Urbanski. Pretty name, though. It was Ronnie Spector.
I think I was arrested with a Ronnie Urbanski in Wisconsin one time.
You rabble-rouser.
All right, Dee, 0 for 1, but we're going to turn it around with this one.
That's all right, Dee. Number 2, ex-Minnesota Vikings beast defensive lineman who once yelled to the police before being arrested, "My arms are more powerful than your guns." Was it A, Keith Hilgenberg, B, Keith Millard, or C, Keith Tarkenton?
Oh, I think that's Keith Millard, and I actually met him once.
You did? Where'd you see the big lad?
He came to my high school.
Did he have powerful arms?
Did he break through a brick wall to make an entrance?
Yeah.
Oh, he was a beast.
No, he was very well-mannered.
Then.
Sober.
You weren't trying to arrest him. There's a whole difference there. All right, good job. You're back on track, Dee.
All right, Dee. Number 3, legendary champion wrestler who went into the ring known as Cactus Jack, Dude Love, and Mankind. Was it A, Mick Foley, B, Mick Bananas, or C, Mick the Mastodon?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my. I know.
I'll go with Mastodon.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was Mick Foley.
Dang.
Oh, that was my second guess.
Oh, gosh. Always go with your gut.
Yeah.
Cripes.
All right.
All right, next up, a swaggering singer, producer, and early figure in the new Jack Swing music movement. Was it A, Keith Sweat, B, Keith Urine, C, Keith Saliva?
That's got to be A.
Yes.
Keith Sweat, indeed.
And your last one, former child actor, lovable Opie, grew up to be Richie Happy Days Cunningham and an acclaimed movie director. Was it A, Ron Scorsese, B, Ron Jeremy, or C, Ron Howard?
Ron Howard.
Nice work,
Atta
Edie.
girl.
Hedgehog gets a mention this morning.
3 for 5, Dee Dee. Well done. I saw Ron Jeremy at a car dealership in L.A. one time, and I was staring at him. I'm like, I know that guy from, who is that guy? I was like, is that guy, does he live in my neighborhood? Literally for 3 minutes, I'm like, he's a weird-looking little guy. And I went, oh, my God, it's Ron Jeremy.
Did you give him the old up and down?
And he got up and walked away from his chair, and I was like, they should just sanitize that chair now.
Oh, my God.
It's really scary. Dee Dee, great job. 3 for 5.
Yeah.
You started off a little slow. You rallied, and you are in good shape right now in Mick, Keith, or Ronnie. Hang tight. We're going to put on your competition and see how they do. Candace, who's caller number 2?
We have John from Independence.
Good morning, John.
Good morning.
You ready to compete for some Eric Clapton tickets?
Oh, I sure am.
All right. You heard it. Mick, Keith, or Ronnie. Tony's going to lead you astray. Go for it, Tony.
Let's go, John. John, number 1, fictional outdoorsman and reptile hunter from Down Under. Is it A, Mick Crocodile Dundee, B, Mick Angelo Dundee, or C, Mick Gecko Face McManus?
That'd be Mick Crocodile Dundee.
Yes, I'm cracking myself up.
Yeah, that's a pretty good.
Number 2, one of the most influential heavy metal vocalists in music. He fronted numerous bands, including Elf, Rainbow, Heaven and Hell, and Black Sabbath. Was it A, Ronnie Blart, B, Ronnie Matrix Neo, or C, Ronnie James Dio?
That's Dio, for sure.
Yes, sir, it was Dio.
Don't judge me, Ronnie Blart.
Number 3, spokesperson and representative for a fast food conglomerate, a real clown with on and off relationships with Mayor McCheese and the Hamburglar. A, Ron McFleetwood, B, Ron McDowell, or C, Ron McDonald?
I'll go with the Scottish guy, Ron McDonald.
Yeah, good call. Scottish guy.
Arr. Attaboy.
Yes. Number 4, former Teen Idol frontman for his family band, managed by hitmaker Reuben Kincaid, with hits including I Think I Love You. Was it A, Keith Urban, B, Keith Van Halen, or C, Keith Partridge?
It's Keith Partridge.
You're just a giggle fest.
John's rolling along, man.
Keith Van Halen, the brother that didn't make the band.
I know, poor guy. All right, your last one, Mr. Number 5, hotshot fictitious TV news anchor during the 1970s, famously fired for saying, "Go F yourself, San Diego," live on the air. Was it A, Ron Shelby, B, Ron Majors, or C, Ron Burgundy?
Oh, that'd be Ron Burgundy.
You're gosh darn right.
John.
Nice work, John.
With a clean sweep. 5 for 5,
Dang.
my friend.
Yeah.
Very well played. That means Dee Dee is going to be our runner-up for the day. Dee Dee, you've got tickets to see the Field of Bands featuring Arch Allies. That's Saturday, September 16th at the Washington County Fairgrounds. Thank you, dear.
Thank you. And, John, I'm available to go to Eric Clapton with you.
Wow. Hey, now.
I like that.
Are we making a love connection?
You coquette.
We'll be back in 2 and 2 to hear about the date.
Yeah.
John, 5 for 5, brother. You have 2 Eric Clapton tickets. That's right. 2. I'm not suggesting what you do with that other one. I'm just telling you there are people out there who would love to accompany you to see Eric Clapton September 14th at the XL Energy Center. Congratulations, John. Thank you guys both for playing.
Thank you.
Man.
That's always a nice way to round up a date, to have some killer concert tickets.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love concerts, man.
Mm-hmm. So there you go.
Concerts with the man. That's even better.
Key to that woman's
Just a
heart
man.
right there.
Just any man.
Amen.
One man.
Man.
Well, if someone asks you to go to a concert and you have to, and if they're having a great time and you hate it, I mean, you got to stay for the whole thing, though, right? There's no like,
Oh, yeah.
hey, come on, this isn't so good, or I mean, that's weird. I see. I wouldn't. If I were in the dating pool, a concert, if it's not someone you already know really well, that's an iffy one.
Oh,
You
it's
know?
so like oh no, I love it because you can feel like the energy from the other person, intertwined with the music, and then maybe they'll graze your leg, or maybe they'll, they'll whisper in your ear,
Poke you in the eye.
Or if you're in the suite, just run right up there to your private bathroom and get it done on the countertop. I'm telling you, it's forget your movies. Forget the new drive-in is the concert. Candace is right. It's like it's a wedding, Love is in the air.
Does
There's
anyone else
excitement,
feel the need for a cigarette right now?
I'm telling you, it is. I'm like a batting 900 with concerts, post-concert coitus.
You
Wait a second, is
stud.
that a thing? No, I mean, no, it's the bands do all the work. You just gotta, finish the encore. I don't know, why am I still talking, Steve?
I
Is
could
Steve here
tell.
somewhere?
I was letting that one go. I'm like, man, how far is that kite gonna fly?
I'm all excited.
I've said many times over the years after touring on the road for years, and it's always like, well, I'm glad someone's having the night of their life. I got to do it again tomorrow in Ames. I'm going to bed. Like you always have your friends show up, and it's like their one night out. So it's like everybody, college buddies are here. They're raging after the gig, and I'm like, yeah, guys, I gotta drive to Topeka. See you later. I'm glad this is the best night of your year. I'm just, it's just Wednesday.
On a Crows show? Oh yeah, Crows show. I bet I probably. Oh yeah, I'm sure I've scored after a Crows show. You guys, I mean, because you had that music and that energy on stage, doing it, and bam.
Well, the drumming is
Something
a turn
about
on.
that drum beat. I just, try to keep that going right through the night.
Just so happy it worked for someone.
That's what we're up to out there in audience land.
Oh, that's nice to know. It's actually not nice to know. I don't like to think about things like that.
All right. Well, hey, listen.
I can tell you, it's like it's one of those things. Like, I'm aware of the fact that people love the music, that people love the shows, but there's something about it where it's like, I can't think about it in those terms. It's like I will get distracted, and then it's like when you look out in the crowd and you see like they're having the greatest time of their life. My thing was always, I got about 2 seconds where I can take it in, then I got to ignore it. I got to turn my back.
Yeah.
It's too distracting.
Have you ever witnessed a couple folks getting it on down in the audience?
Yeah.
Immediately, yes.
No, there was one time for sure. I got to think of where it was, because it wasn't like at a festival. It was like in a theater, like in Des Moines, and it was one of those like, whoa, what is happening right there in the front row? And I got to put the old memory hat on to figure. But yeah, there was one time we're all looking at each other like, it's in the middle of the audience is looking at the band, I'm sure, and like, man, this jam is intense. And the reason the jam was going on so long is because we were all looking at each other going, is that what I think is happening right there? Like, Chris, go up there and look, get the bird's eye view right there. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. And we're all sharing this moment. Yeah, that's absolutely it.
Outstanding.
Hey, speaking of shared moments, we can all share a moment or two on a nice little road trip in October. How about this? The KQ Morning Show is hitting the road for a long weekend up north with our friends from BigDeck.com. October 5th through the 8th, we're going to be at Cragun's Resort on Gull Lake. There will be a live broadcast of the KQ Morning Show, drinks on the boat cruise, dinner, and so much more. Ultimately, it's just going to be a lot of fun. So why won't you join us? You can hit the website, as I said, to pick up your tickets, 92kqrs.com, sponsored by BigDeck.com and Cragun's Resort on Gull Lake.
Dude, it's going to be so fun.
Dude.
There's going to be a concert and men.
When you get let me tell you something, concert and men. When you get the breathy dude from Candace, that's not an average dude. It's the dude. It's going to be fun.
Hey, dude, come join us. It sounds super creepy when I do it. All right, we've been kind of screwing around, tiptoeing around the big NFL opener. We talked about Aaron Rodgers' UFO story. We talked about drinking a lot of beer here in the NFC North, but it's time to get after it. The Vikings, of course, opening up their season Sunday at noon. Tampa Bay coming to town. We have Sam Ekstrom, our Purple Insider. We're talking Vikings football. Yeah. at 8:30. Hang tight.
I need a coffee.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Thursday, September the 7th. The NFL season kicks off tonight. The Detroit Lions head down to Kansas City in what apparently is going to be a very compelling football game. It's going to be compelling no matter what happens, but boy, a lot of people are riding Detroit on this one. Last I checked, it was almost a full touchdown spread.
Wow.
And the Sharps are all saying the Lions look pretty good to cover, if not outright win. Oh, have we lost our cotton-picking minds? For the Minnesota Vikings, of course, the season kicks off on Sunday, September 10th, with a noon kickoff at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's talk some football. Sam Ekstrom is on the horn right now, the host and Vikings insider for the podcast network Locked On Sports Minnesota. After each game, you can hear Sam on the Ron Johnson Show, the Minnesota Football Party, and the Vikings podcast. Sam, what's up, brother?
Not much. Good to be back for another year, and yeah, I'm dubious of the Lions tonight as well. I've seen Patrick Mahomes' stats in Week 1 across his career, and I think he's never thrown an interception. So I'm looking forward to a Chiefs win tonight.
Yeah, as high as people are on the Detroit Lions, being actually from a family from Detroit, I always say the same thing, guys. It's the Detroit Lions. This is not going to end well. Mm-hmm. It's one of the safest bets in football. That culture ain't changing. So let's talk about the Vikings, though, Sam. Season opener, Tampa Bay comes to town. There's a million storylines, as there always are, flying around. But for me right now, it's really been, since they hired Flores as the defensive coordinator, it's all about the D. How do you feel about this defense right now, based on what you've seen and what you've heard about what they're scheming and what they're planning and what the personnel looks like?
Yeah, well, let me use this first as a disclaimer. This time last year, people also spoke with a lot of positivity about Ed Donatell's defense, right? Mm-hmm. And we saw how that went. So the preseason hype train is not everything. It's not gospel. If you struggle in the regular season, that's all that matters. But sure. I will say that aesthetically, it looks so much different and more interesting than the Ed Donatell defense, which was based around kind of sitting the safeties back, rushing four guys, and then hoping your corners can cover. Whereas this Flores defense is reckless in its aggressiveness. They send 7-8 guys to the line of scrimmage, and they show blitz off the edges, and they're going to gamble. They're going to take some risks, and some of it will pay off, and some of it will not pay off. Right. They might get burned a little bit. They're really counting on their guys to win one-on-one at the cornerback position so that they can bring a lot of blitzers from the middle and send safeties up and add pressure. It's going to look way different than last year, and you're going to enjoy watching it. But sometimes you might say, why'd you get caught in that blitz?
Sure.
It's just going to be a really aggressive scheme. The safeties are going to be running everywhere. That's kind of the signature of this defense. So expect to see a lot of pressure and probably a few more sacks, and cross your fingers that the cornerbacks can hold up in one-on-one coverage.
Well, and that's it. Hey, Sam, Zepp here, and talk about that, because they lost the corners, and you're right. This the Flores defense is all about the corners. Of course, in that, can they hold their own on those islands out there? And I don't even really know who Baker Mayfield is thrown to. Evans is still there, of course. And how many times they're going to have to run the ball more in Tampa, I think, with the Mayfield offense. But are those corners in Minnesota ready to, live out on that island? Because Flores, it's going to be blitzy. It's going to be fun to watch, but, kind of nerve-wracking.
Yeah, well, this blitz these corners are paper thin depth-wise.
Yeah.
I think you like at least your top two. You like Byron Murphy, who you brought in from Arizona. You like a Caleb Evans, who, concussions ruined his rookie year, but they've been really high on him throughout camp going into his second year, and he looks the part. I think he's been pretty solid. And then your nickel, which is ordinarily kind of a smaller corner that you put on the inside on passing downs. A lot of times they're using a big safety in those situations. So get to know the name Josh Metellus. Metellus is a former 6th-round pick. He's played on and off for his first 3 years. He's probably going to be a pseudo starter in this defense as that sort of big nickel cornerback, because the depth beyond that is it's the rookie Mekhi Blackman. It's Andrew Booth from last year he was extremely fragile, gets hurt a lot, and that's it. You don't really have any other corners that can play defense. So, again, the safeties are integral in playing that de facto corner role to kind of help those guys out and add some physicality up at the cornerback position.
Cool.
We're talking Vikings with Sam Ekstrom on the KQ Morning Show. What's a storyline as you're digging into this team and you're preparing all summer long, either a concern or something you feel really good about that the average fan's probably overlooking? Have you got is there something you're looking at and going, why aren't we talking about this?
Yeah, well, we focused on some of the concerns in that last question with the corners and, the defense holding up and being better. I think that's still a major concern. On the offensive side of the ball, I think you're still concerned about your offensive line, and a lot of people aren't talking about that they allowed the most hit quarterback in the NFL last year and didn't make any changes to that line. It's still the same 5 guys. It's the same backups. So they're counting on another year in the scheme to be enough for those guys to improve enough this year and keep Kirk Cousins on his feet. I think to combat that, I think we're going to see a little more run-heavy offense. We're going to see more tight ends. They brought in Josh Oliver in the offseason. 3-year, $21 million deal. That's a pretty big commitment to join T.J. Hawkinson, who they just committed to as well long-term. So you're going to see more 2 tight ends. I think you're going to see a little more run-heavy, probably more efficient in the run game this year because Kirk Cousins just dropped back too many times and got hit too many times last year. And a more efficient run game would go a long way.
Sam, what's happening with Jordan Addison? They have him listed 3rd on the depth chart. Have they been kind of hiding him, or are they ready to unleash him in mysterious fashion?
Yeah, I think he's going to be good, guys. I think that from what I saw all training camp, I was out there all month, I think he's the real deal. Now, they're not going to put him above Osborne on the depth chart. They're giving Osborne that respect as a veteran, as a returning player, and I do think Osborne is sitting on a big year, too. I think early on he'll get a lot of those Adam Thielen targets, but watch out for Addison. He catches everything in his catch radius. He plays way bigger than like a 5'9", 5'10" guy. I mean, he's not big out there, but it seems like he's got the frame that just reels everything in. So his size isn't really a factor. He's super quick. I just worry about injuries. He's already dealt with a couple things during camp. He is only about 170 pounds. So is he going to be able to stay on the field? When he's healthy, I think he's a really dynamic receiver. So Ian Osborne might be jockeying for that number 2 spot.
Does Tampa Bay still have those, as a Dean and Davis, those corners that are pretty spectacular out there? Is there it looks like maybe the slot receiver, and of course you talked about the tight ends down the middle of the field, might be a big thing for the Vikes on Sunday.
Yeah, they still got Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis, and they've been a good coverage team in the past. Antoine Winfield Jr., the former Gopher, he's the safety that kind of does everything for them. Really good ball hawk, as we saw in Minnesota, so he's always a threat to jump a route and make an interception. And again, that could be a way to get your tight ends involved. If the corners are locking things down on the outside, use your tight ends up the middle between the hash marks. Get T.J. Hawkinson involved. We saw what he could do last year when teams tried to shut down Justin Jefferson. So I'd expect a big year from the tight ends. I think that they're going to be more equipped to spread the ball around because teams are just automatically going to double Jefferson. You're going to have to pick your spots with him and work it to other people.
Sam Ekstrom's with us on the KQ Morning Show. All right, let's get the elephant in the room out onto the table. Kirk Cousins has gotten a lot of love from the Netflix show. A lot of people anecdotally really think highly of the guy that probably didn't know much about him before. That's nice. But let's talk about on the field. What are your expectations? Any new tricks? Is this going to be a year of regression? Is it going to be status quo? What do you project from Kirk Cousins for 2023?
Kirk Cousins, he really is the model of consistent consistency. He goes through the course of the year, and there are times where he kind of disappears for a couple weeks, and he has games where he struggles, like last year at Philadelphia, where you wonder, has he played in the league before? But he puts enough together that by the end of the year, the stats look really good. And this happens every single year where you're always scratching your head saying, is he elite? Is he not elite? No, he's stuck in the middle somewhere. Every single quarterback ranking, guys, and trust me, in the offseason, everyone's doing them. They're ranking Cousins 12th, 13th, or 14th in the league. Like, that's just where he resides. So it's very hard to evaluate him because you just don't know if he can actually get you to a Super Bowl. I think that another year in the system, and the Netflix documentary kind of revealed some of this too, how almost unsettled he was in learning this new complicated scheme. I think he's going to feel a lot more comfortable in that, and that might smooth over some of those early season inconsistencies. But again, he's not mobile, takes a lot of hits. I think that he still has somewhat of a limited ceiling as to how much of a game changer he can be. The stats might be really good, though. I mean, this is a high-powered offense, really high potential. I could see him putting up, 30-plus touchdowns, maybe 10 interceptions, and 4,500 yards again. Same numbers as last year. But then they got to make the decision. Do they want to commit to him another $40 million going forward or start over with a rookie quarterback? So every single game this season, you got to watch through that lens and say, is this the guy we want going forward? It is so compelling and so interesting. And you talk to 100 people on the street, 50 people feel one way, 50 people feel the other way. It's very polarizing.
Sam Ekstrom, we appreciate you calling in. We'll be talking a lot of football with you over the next few months. We're not going to hold you to it, which is my way of saying we're absolutely going to hold you to it. Give us a record. Just give us what you think. How many wins for the Vikings this year?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a relatively safe 10-7, which I think people won't be mad at me for saying. Their over-under in Vegas is 8.5, so I'm going a little over the projection.
Oh, I'll take that over for sure. Wow.
Yep, yeah, it's very modest. So, yeah, if they can just take care of business and not lose games like this on Sunday, which they might not be favored by this much all season. I mean, this is almost a touchdown favorite, like you said in the open. So, got to win Sunday, got to take care of business at home, and I think this can be a 10-win team. That's great. Sam, thank you for the time, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Yeah, appreciate it. Always fun. See you guys.
When's kickoff? In about an hour?
Oh, man. I'm literally chomping at the bit.
No kidding. I was looking at the non-conference schedule. They've got the Chiefs and the 49ers. By the way, in Minnesota for both of those.
At Philly, week 2.
Yeah, at Philly, week 2.
Thursday night.
Are we going to go to a game, you guys?
Okay.
Together as a family?
In Philly on a Thursday night?
Just in general, any game. What about that Packers game? Maybe we could get the day off.
Well, hell, if we're gonna get Steve over to U.S. Bank Stadium for his first, it should be the Packers, the border battle.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Let's okay, I'm writing this down. Packers. Now that's the team from Green Bay, right? Hey, listen, guys, you can meet up with Lisa Miller, and by the way, who wouldn't want to meet up with Lisa Miller? Just a salt of the earth. Best. Lisa and KQR 92 KQRS will be at the grand opening of Riddle's Jewelry in Eden Prairie Center Saturday. That's in a couple of days from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can sign up to win a $250 gift card from Riddle's, plus grab some KQ swag and other prizes. This Saturday, 11 to 1, Riddle's Jewelry in the Eden Prairie Center.
All right, we started the day, Aaron Rodgers claiming he once saw a UFO on Hard Knocks as they wrapped up that on HBO Max on Tuesday. We're going to get back to that. More football stuff coming, too. Wide receivers are going with lower numbers in the digits, lower numbers. Why? There's a reason they're doing that. It's very vain. It's very NFL wide receiver. We'll get into all that here at 9 o'clock. Hang tight.
Football!
Yeah!
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. John Mellencamp's Small Town bringing us into the final hour of the day for Thursday, September the 7th. I spent the years 10 through 18 in a small town in Kentucky called Hopkinsville. And Kentucky's a basketball state, but football is right behind it in terms of general importance. It's not quite the Friday Night Lights of Texas or Tennessee, but it's pretty darn compelling at the same time. So in the town I grew up in, that small town in western Kentucky, there are two big public high schools. There's Hopkinsville High, the Tigers, and then it's in Christian County Colonels. So the Tigers and the Colonels have defined that town for a century.
Yeah.
And everybody you meet is a Tiger or a Colonel. And
Who's usually better?
It goes back and forth. Both school. This is a really anomaly. It's a crazy sports town. Both public high schools have won the state football championship and the state basketball championship in this century. Against like teams from Louisville, Lexington, much bigger cities. They've both won the football championship. They've both won the basketball championship. It is a sports mecca. This basketball-wise, Hopkinsville has sent more Division I players, more high school players to Division I. I gotta think than any town its size. Like since 1980, it's hundreds, literally. If it were a city the size of Minneapolis, it'd be like 62,000 or something. If you do the numbers, it's absurd. It's a great documentary waiting to happen. But here's where all of this is leading: the city and the county, for whatever reasons, they are consolidating those two high schools in 2026. They are taking away Hopkinsville High. They are taking away Christian County High. There will be one new high school.
The Tiger Colonels.
And it's a heated debate.
Yeah.
Because one of those two is going away, or they may have just come up with a whole new one and put it to rest. But there are folks who are much older than I am who are just like, well, what do you mean there's no Tigers and Colonels anymore? I mean, it's just the central nervous system of that town is those high school, those competitions, Are you a Tiger? And myself and my two brothers, we went to the little dorky K through 12 private school for one reason only. It's an academic, like a college prep school.
Yeah.
That's not what we were there for. It was the only school in the late 70s that played soccer, and we all were soccer kids from Maryland. So we went there specifically because they played soccer. And then and since long after we left, our high school is a basketball powerhouse as well. It's a tiny school, and it has won many Class A state championships. So but no football team. Our school's never had a football team. My senior class had 12 kids. I mean, there's no football there.
12
kids. So the Blazers, that's like the side, my school, the Blazers, whatever. But the Tigers and the Colonels, I mean, that's the whole thing in that town. Mm-hmm. And I just saw a whole thing on Facebook the other day, and I really thought about that. Like, wow, that is, I mean, that's just going away. You're taking away that such a huge piece of the culture of that city.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I think some of the most intense football competition will be on the practice field. As those rivalries come together on the same field. Look out for that town. I grew up in a very small town, Woolsey, South Dakota, population 350, and Wessington, South Dakota was our big rivalry about 14 miles away, and now they've combined Woolsey, Wessington. That was after my time there, but it's a weird identity thing for the towns that have that friendly, not sometimes, depending on how many beers at the local bar, not so friendly rivalry, You get your scrums between towns. And then they came together, and now it seems to be local football sort of like, all right, it's so that's a big thing. Those small towns are starting to consolidate.
By the way, September 1st, just last week, Christian County beat Hopkinsville High 22-20 in what looks like the second to last ever game those two teams will compete. So I don't know what the record is. And, of course, growing up in the town and going to the school I went to, I cheer against both those teams. I hate them all. but I'm an anomaly for that in that regard.
Any superstars come out of the area?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's see. A lot of basketball players, starting point guard for the Wizards for years named Chris Whitney. A guy named Greg Buckner had about a 16 or 17-year NBA career, mostly in Dallas. I believe he played here for a season. He's from my same high school. A lot of basketball, not NBA, but a lot of Division I, and then overseas, great success. A lot of basketball players for sure. And then who else? Oh, of course, 19th century clairvoyant Edgar Casey, also from
really?
Hopkinsville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Familiar.
Oh, yeah, the Edgar Casey house. I can take you right to it.
Nice.
It's one of those things. So you got Edgar Casey and me. That's it. Outside of the sports realm, people that
in the Hall of Fame,
people who's who have a Wikipedia page. I guess that would be the defining characteristic. So with all that to say, it is football season. Oh my gosh, the big boys NFL kicks off tonight, and then Sunday, of course, the Vikings are on the field. And as are the New York Jets, a team that now suddenly a lot of folks in this area are paying a little bit more attention to as they have Aaron Rodgers as their starting quarterback. It would be just like Aaron Rodgers to like literally run the table, like the Jets go 17-0 or and then blow up in the first round of the playoffs. You know, It's like it's never exactly nothing's a straight line with Rodgers. He's in his own lane in the NFL in my experience with like anybody that's that talented, but that also just a little, just off base a little about no matter what the subject is, no matter what's happening in the game. This is a guy whose body language can be just, you can see him throw 3 straight touchdown passes and he walks off the field slumping like he just got kicked in the shins.
Yeah.
He's just an anomaly. He's a strange guy. He's a strange cat. And now, of course, in the last few years, we've talked about his ayahuasca trips, his hallucinogenic journey. The man did a lights out retreat after last season.
That.
He went to a dark cabin for 3 days or 6 days or whatever.
Flotation tanks.
But we've got evidence now that this is not a new thing. Aaron Rodgers has been looking at things differently and, in fact, seeing things for quite some time. On Hard Knocks the other night, we learned that Aaron Rodgers saw something in the night sky 20 years ago. Here's the audio.
We had this great dinner at his house in Jersey. I was making my way to bed, and I had like a 5 a.m. wake up, and I was getting down to bed. I heard this alarm in the distance going off. It just didn't seem like normal, and I heard some rustling downstairs. So I got up, walked downstairs. It was a beautiful night, and Steve and his brother and I walked outside, and up in the clouds, we heard this sound, and we saw this tremendously large object moving through the sky. And it was like a scene out of Independence Day when the ships are coming into the atmosphere, and they're creating this like kind of explosion type fire in the sky.
It's just getting crazier and crazier.
We just saw this incredibly large object and froze, as anybody would, because we didn't know what the hell was going on. And eventually it went out of sight, and nobody said a word.
Can you feel the tension mounting on your leg like a dog?
Frozen, the 3 of us on the front stoop of Steve's house. And about 30 seconds later, we heard the real recognizable sound of fighter jets going shoo, 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 shoo.
Boy, Hard Knocks really laid into that audio. Wow.
I think that people would have just quit listening. If some guy was talking to you like that in the bar, you'd be like, oh, yeah, you saw big. And then at some point, you just kind of slowly turn away and start looking at the television.
Not me.
All right, now on Independence Day, that thing that came out, that was like football stadium sized. It came out of the sky. I don't know if you remember.
It was like a mile wide.
Yeah, a mile wide. It was just, crazy big, and he's comparing what he saw to that. It's just odd we didn't get a little more press on that. So.
Skeptics.
Here's what I love about this, and it drives my Packers friends crazy because they just don't want to have anything to do with it. They were kind of done with him. I mean, if he had turned it around after the MVP back-to-back and come and put in a solid playoff experience, but after those last 2 playoff games where he just stunk it up, didn't look like an MVP at all. They were done, but then he was going with the long hair, and he was dating the celebrity gals, and he was in, and then he was out, and ayahuasca and the whole thing. But now that he's in New York City, he's free to be Rodgers. He's just, there's no suppression there. Yeah, he's just going to be all out kooky. I think he fits with this team very well. They have a great defense. Their offense is fairly spotty. He's a hell of a quarterback with still some tread on the tire. It could be a fun season in New York. I don't see him winning a Super Bowl or anything like that, but he'll keep it entertaining this year. He's the lead kook. Is there another kook in the NFL?
Is he hot or not? I don't know. Every week I change my mind.
Sometimes he looks like an old man, doesn't he?
But
I think,
again,
that can be hot too, Tony.
Right.
Going with his general contrarian nature, I think, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, by Thanksgiving, Rodgers is short hair and wearing Dockers every day. Like, he's gonna start wearing penny loafers now that he's in New York City.
Right.
So, it's like you expect the freak flag to fly higher and larger than ever, but I swear he'd go he's going to be like a Ward Cleaver walking into the locker room.
That would be funny.
Boys, let's break down that set of plays that we stubbed our toes on for Saturday night.
Start smoking a pipe.
I wouldn't be surprised. Nothing the guy's going to do is going to surprise me, except for, like you said, they might. But you're right. They could. They're not going to go 17-0. But I swear, nothing would surprise me anymore with him and with the NFL, because every year there's one team that just shoots up and one team that falls apart. The Jets, we do know this. If the Jets start off like 10-3, it will fall apart. That's just the Jets. There's no around it. But I assume we all have spent a little bit of time in our lives around at least one actual real live born Jets fan. If they're winning, there's nothing more insufferable than a Jets fan. My God.
I know. They're right up there with our Packer friends that we love so much.
Sure.
But yeah.
That JETS, Jet cheer after a while, I'm like, you can spell it. Congratulations. That's good.
Remember there was
4
that
letters.
one guy who would stand up in the stadium to lead that cheer?
Yeah.
I mean, how did it become his responsibility?
I don't know, but he took it very seriously.
Right.
He was not kidding. It's like, the Orioles used to have Wild Bill Hagee would spell out the Orioles, the O-R, the body thing. One guy in the bleachers, and like the whole stadium's waiting for him to stand up and make the O with his arms. It was like, wow. How do you get to be that guy?
I know.
Who starts the wave at the Michigan football games? I'm always like, who's got that gig?
I love that guy.
Right. One guy. Come on.
You never really know. Oh, you know what you can do also? You can win a VIP trip to see Guns N' Roses. Anybody interested in that?
Kinda. Big time.
Kinda. The final 2023 U.S. tour stops, you could be at one of them. Maybe you want to check them out in San Diego. Maybe Phoenix is more your style. The final stop of the tour, I should say, is in Seattle. That'd be kind of cool. You can score a trip for 2. That includes airfare, 2 nights hotel, premium tickets in the U.S. concert city of your choice, plus the Paradise City VIP lounge package, including limited editions Guns N' Roses merch, access to the VIP lounge, and more. All of this, if you text right now the national keyword ROSES, R-O-S-E-S, to 95819. Do it right now, ROSES, to 95819, and enter for a chance to win.
All right, we'll ring that class bell at 9:30. It's a history lesson with Professor Gorman. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Legendary guitarist in Nashville, Tennessee years ago, Chet Atkins, was in a studio, and he played a track, and he walked into the recording booth, the control room, and a journalist was there, and he goes, Chet, man, that guitar sounds amazing. And Chet took the guitar that was in the stand, he was wearing his guitar. He took it off, put it in the stand, and said, yeah, how's it sound now?
Oh my God.
He was angered. It's like, that ain't the guitar, dude. That was like it's an old, story you hear all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought of that when I just read that the piano Freddie Mercury wrote Bohemian Rhapsody on just sold for $2.2 million.
Ooh.
And that's awesome. Somebody just spent a whole lot of money to get that piano. You ain't going to write Bohemian Rhapsody on that piano, and you ain't going to make it sound like it did when Freddie played it. I hope that 2.2 is I hope that's makes you feel better, but I'm blown away when people, pay that kind of money for instruments. The owner of the Indianapolis Colts, Jim Irsay, has a huge collection, but he takes it on tour. He lets people see it. He doesn't just sit in his house and, he doesn't have McCartney's Hofner bass from the Ed Sullivan Show thinking he's going to play it and sound like McCartney. He has it, and then he takes it out and lets you see it, and, he raises money for charity and does stuff with it.
Right.
I don't know who bought this piano, but there are plenty of people who do buy those kind of instruments, and they literally think like, this is going to be the one. This is going to make me feel good. I'm going to play it. I'm going to channel Freddie here. It's like, no, you're not. No. It's just it's not Freddie's piano anymore. It's yours, and you probably suck.
It's to impress people.
I got a buddy in Nashville who's got a pretty extensive guitar collection. He's got like a '59 Les Paul Sunburst, some incredibly rare. It's like worth $500,000. Wow. And I took a picture of me holding it as if I were playing it, just to show to guitar friends I have to torture them. Like literally, because it's the kind of guitar where I can literally show that photo and people be like, what No, what, you? And of course my hand, my left hand looks mangled as I'm trying to make a chord. I can't play guitar to save my life, and I'm like, oh yeah, man, it's got an amazing feel, and everyone's like, shut up, I don't want to hear that from you.
What's this knob for? Yeah, that's pretty awesome. By the way, having just been to Nashville once, but getting around town, visiting a few spots, you might find yourself a Chet Atkins photograph hanging on the wall. Every place I walked into,
sure,
Chet Atkins.
The man laid a lot of the groundwork for how to make a living in that town.
Yeah,
pretty spectacular musician, but behind the scenes was doing a lot of work too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all kinds of. It's funny if just getting into the studio world in town there's just so many stories about all the old guard. Just so many. Not to go into them here at all, but I mean it's a whole universe that's existed there for 50 years, 60 years now. That lately I think it's more open, more people are aware of it. But in the heyday, 60s, 70s, 80s, very much a secret society, man. That studio world in Nashville, I know guys that were doing 6 days of session work, 52 weeks a year for decades. I've met these guys who are on tens of thousands of recordings. I had 3 sessions a day, 6 days a week for 31 straight years. And you're just like, I'm sorry, what?
Probably.
And, those guys, and they all say like, yeah, we're just back there making sausage. You're just, and the number of times they're like, yeah, you hear a demo and the producer's like, okay, here's the song we're going to cut. And the musicians in the room, they're all like, I think I heard that one before. And he's like, yeah, you guys all played on it before, but you can't remember what you played on, what you didn't.
Right.
I've seen that happen. I've been in a session and everyone's like, it sounds familiar. And he's like, yeah, it should have been. You played it 2 weeks ago. I'm like, oh, okay. I played 900 songs since then. Forgive me. The Vikings start off affairs on Sunday. Tampa Bay coming to town. Yeah. We spoke with Sam Ekstrom about an hour ago. The defense, of course, a huge question mark. Last year's defense was abysmal, and they still went 13-4 in the regular season. This year, with Brian Flores as the DC, we're all hoping it's going to be a much more aggressive, Sam said, way more fun to watch. Like they're going to be sending 6, 7, 8 guys at the quarterback.
Yeah,
and this Sunday especially. That's going to make for entertaining television or in-person football because that quarterback is Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
A man without a country. I mean, I don't care that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers signed him. It's only a matter of time till he's looking for another job. He never panned out. He was never going to pan out. And I think that's a perfect first opponent for the newly revamped defense of the Vikings.
Well, he's had problems with blitzing, good blitzing teams before, going through his reads, and so that bodes well for them also. But like Sam talked about, it really comes down to those corners with a Brian Flores defense that we're going to see that is going to be very exciting. But those guys on the outside are going to be on an island, and they're going to have to cover. The nice thing about sending, a bunch of blitzers and having Hunter, retaining him, maybe moving him around a little bit and getting him on that weak side, is that the corners aren't going to have to cover for the second or third move. It's going to be 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, and somebody better be running Baker Mayfield around or putting him on the turf. But I know, Candace.
All right, we're done with that.
Is Baker Mayfield hot or not? What do you think about Kirk Cousins? Hot or not?
Okay, I did this last year and did a poll, and it was pretty close. But I'm going to say the way that I feel today in this moment, after not having a lot of sleep last night, not.
Okay.
Did he lose the 70s porn stash?
See, I like the stash.
I thought the stash was killer, too. I did not see it. Well, I don't know. That wasn't that recent, probably. Did you see he showed up in the Manning's? That was kind of a fun promo they put together for the Manning cast or whatever.
Yeah, I did.
They've got him on there, just selling a bunch of QBs on there. But I don't know if he's still rocking the stash or not.
We'll see. Once I settle this Aaron Rodgers hot or not situation, I'll go back to Kurt. We'll do this professionally. Okay.
You know there's nothing hotter than winning, Candace. Let's see how we do on Sunday before we determine who's hot or not.
Yeah, all those folks going, he's so nice. Did you see him on the show? And he's just the nicest, coolest guy out there. Yeah, he loses a couple of games here out of the gate, and he's not going to be they're going to think very differently of him, yeah.
No, it'll turn. It'll just get whiplash from how quickly we'll be like, that Netflix show was crap. Screw him. Well, we're all looking very forward to Sunday, but for right now, let's look back. On this day in 1963, September the 7th, the Pro Football Hall of Fame opened its doors to the public in, of all places, Canton, Ohio, as the Zepp family returned to Pennsylvania every year like salmon to the up the river from South Dakota. They passed near Canton, Ohio, never went into Canton, Ohio. Zepp, to this day, still suffering from the years of asking, can we go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame? No. We've got to make time to Pennsylvania.
I made a snide comment a month ago when I was home with Dad. He said something. I goes, but we couldn't go to we were going to go fishing up at Fort Thompson, which is an hour and a half away, but you couldn't go 40 miles off the interstate. We begged. That was all that was important to us as kids.
Of course.
And Dad almost seemed to have a certain glee. He'd wait for it. He'd slow down as we passed the exit, I think. There it goes, boys, your dreams.
I didn't put that turn signal on.
Nope.
Chet Waterhouse, one of America's greatest sportscasters, once said of the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in Hamilton, Ontario, a walk through the CFL Hall of Fame is the greatest 4 minutes you can have.
That's great.
However, the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, you can lose a day or two there. I'm sure it's fantastic. I, of course, have never been either.
No.
Who's ever been to Canton, Ohio? I couldn't find it on a map. On this day in 1979, ESPN premiered the first day of the Entertainment and Sports Programming Network. They launched the network with a 30-minute sports center, which was highlights, of course, from the day's sporting activities. And I remember, as a giant sports fan in 1979, at 14 years old, hearing about this thing called ESPN. And I remember saying, that's crazy. You can't have 24-hour sports. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Yet another example of me not really being ahead of the curve on any level. I thought that was never going to work. And at first, you would have thought I was right, because they had a 30-minute sports center to launch the network, and then immediately they cut over to let's see, what was it? Oh, that's right, a men's professional slow-pitch softball game. A contest featuring the Milwaukee Schlitz versus the Kentucky Bourbons.
Oh, there you go.
An auspicious start to what is now a monster sports network in the world.
The KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.